Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Garcia and the theory I got assigned was relational dialectic theory. This theory can be found on chapter 11 in our book. So I'm going to first start off by talking about who proposed the theory. And this would be proposed by Leslie Baxter and Barbara Montgomery. So the way I've interpreted this theory is that instead of seeing differences as a bad thing or as something that's hard, something that we should stay away from, I've understood that we should embrace our differences. And Leslie Baxter kind of gives us this idea that differences are a good thing and differences show that the relationship is progressing and that the relationship is growing, so that we shouldn't be afraid or ashamed of differences. Instead, we should embrace them because they are always going to be there no matter what, no matter who you're with. And we should just accept the fact that differences are okay and it just means that we're progressing in each relationship. So, like I said, dialectical theory is kind of like a push and pull between two people. And this is just saying that dialectical tensions are inevitable and they're always going to be either in your relationships, and I also feel like they're going to be in your friendships, in your relationship with your parents, with your coworkers, with your boss, with your classmates, pretty much with anybody, because even though this theory is focused more on couples, one person and their significant other, like I said, I see it as you can apply it to you and your mother, you and your father, you and your best friend, you and your sister, and pretty much this theory can be used with you and any other person. So these are like the three basic relational dialectics that Baxter and Montgomery proposed. I'm sorry that it's backwards. So there are two different forms of tensions or dialectics, and there are internal forms and external forms. So internal forms deal with you and your significant other or whoever it may be. Those are the internal. And then the external deals with you and that other person, your significant other, whoever it may be, and the community. So external deals with outside forces and internal just deals between the two different people in theory. So they each kind of have their own little cluster. And for internal, we have connection, autonomy, openness, closeness, predictability, and novelty. And then the external, we have inclusion, seclusion, revelation, concealment, conventionality, and uniqueness. So pretty much these three are kind of the same thing, just in internal and external forms. Connection, autonomy, inclusion, seclusion just kind of deals with you wanting to feel like you're a part of that person and you want to feel connected to them, but you don't want to lose your independence in who you are as a person when you stand alone. Openness, closeness, revelation, concealment. This kind of just deals with how much you want to reveal to your partner, your significant other, your friend, whoever it may be, and how much you feel like you should keep close to yourself. It's kind of like personal information or something that's secret to you. It's kind of that debate whether you should keep it secret and just keep to yourself, or if you should actually reveal that about you. And then there's predictability, novelty, conventionality, and uniqueness. And this kind of just deals with, as the relationship or friendship progresses, you kind of already get to know who that person is, and they kind of become predictable, so you feel like it gets kind of boring. And that's also kind of like a conventionality part of it. But once we get to the novelty and uniqueness, this is kind of like where you still want to keep that fun in the relationship and keep things fresh and new. So that's pretty much a basic overview of these internal and external forms. And even though these were the basic ones that Baxter and Montgomery proposed, I learned that these little dialectics can be formed on your own terms. So I actually read an article that was named Understanding the African American Student in Higher Education Through a Relational Dialectics Theory. So these researchers applied this theory to these African American students that were attending a predominantly white university. And what they found was that these African American students actually ended up coming up with their own dialectics. And these include blackness versus whiteness. And that kind of deals with the fact that they felt that separation between being black and then being white. And then the talking versus separation. And this kind of deals with, they wanted, like there was times in class that they would talk about African American history and they wanted to speak up, but they didn't want anybody to feel like they were throwing themselves a pity party, or they didn't want to be judged. So this is when they would kind of just stay quiet instead of talking. And then also they actually did deal with the revelation versus concealment. So they didn't want to reveal too much about them because they, like I said, they didn't want people to judge them. And so they kind of kept to themselves and they kind of concealed a lot of their history and who they are, just so that these people wouldn't judge who they were, what they've been through. And Barbara and Leslie Baxter actually give us kind of a way to manage these dialectics. If you're interested, you can find them online. There's about 7 different dialectics, ways to manage them. So pretty much this is just a brief overview, and I really hope you enjoyed my presentation.